at it again, and we have a video here that a few of you have asked me to touch on. So here we are. But before we get into that, make sure you guys are following me on all social media sites: Instagram, Twitter, Truth Social, Rumble, all of those. Just in case anything ever happens to this YouTube channel, you can find me over there on those platforms as well. All right. The name should be The Real Doc Rich. All right. The Real Doc Rich. I think maybe on Rumble it's just Doc Rich. I think one of the two, The Real Doc Rich or Doc Rich. You can find me on all of those. All right. Make sure you guys are following me on all of those platforms. Like I said, just in case anything ever happens to this YouTube channel, because of course things are getting a little weird around here. All right. But anyway, with all that being said, thank you for all of the continued love and support. And let's dive in.
Hey guys, I'm Off the Grid for August, and here's Joe Rogan making some sense, and maybe it'll trickle up to the mainstream. You never know.
The US is in a recession at the moment, but it's not allowed to be called a recession.
Well, the government's trying to not call it a recession, but it's...
Wikipedia article got changed. You see this?
Really?
Oh, dude.
No.
So
They redefined recession?
Yep. So recession used to be 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Not
We've
anymore?
had that.
Not on Wikipedia.
When was this?
Jamie, get the Wikipedia-y thing up, because this is wild.
How long ago did they change it?
This weekend.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I saw it got locked because people were fucking with it, is what I read. But I don't know how much of that was. But this is the definition when you type in Google, which is the same thing.
Uh-huh.
So a period of
negative
temporary
GDP.
economic decline during which trade and industrial activity are reduced, generally identified by a fall in GDP in 2 successive quarters. So
Yep.
in
That's one thing that has been happening a lot more recently, is the changing of definitions, or just no definition at all, right? We've seen that with a lot of different words more recently, and obviously the most recent one is recession. The consensus on the definition of a recession is 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP. That's the way it's always been. And now all of a sudden we try to change the definition? Why is that? Kind of weird, huh? Kind of strange. You know, the G word that we're not allowed to use now, the what's the best? I don't even know if I'm allowed to say it on YouTube. The term that means that you are training some younger folks. That G word. That's the best way that I could describe it without, getting too explicit. All right. Some of y'all know the word that I'm talking. It's GRO. Yeah, you can guess the rest of it. Trying to change the definition of that amongst other words as well. I mean, I can go on. Why are we trying to all of a sudden change the definition of things? These definitions have been the definition for a very, very long time. Why now? Trying to change reality? I don't know. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section, but it's weird. Crazy.
Google,
Yep.
it's still the same. In Wikipedia, let's look at what it says. Recession is a business cycle contraction where there's a general decline in economic activity. Recessions generally occur when there is a widespread drop in spending or an adverse demand shock. This may be triggered by various events such as financial crisis, an external trade shock, an adverse supply shock, bursting. Okay, here it is. A recession is defined by the National Bureau of Economic Research as a significant decline in economic activity spread across the market lasting more than a few months. Normally visible in real GDP, real income, employment, industrial production, and wholesale retail sales. So
In the UK,
it's defined as that.
in the UK, it's defined as a negative economic growth for 2 consecutive quarters. So
That got changed.
So that's what's changed, that the United States used to define it as 2 consecutive quarters, and now we don't anymore?
And people have pulled it up on the archive. So a bunch of advisors, economic advisors, have got quotes of them saying what a recession is, especially when Donald Trump was in office, that there is a recession that's coming. It's negative GDP growth for 2 consecutive quarters.
Right.
And then this weekend, people are asking them, are we in a recession? Because the second quarter economics just came out, and it's 0.9 decline again.
Have you seen the White House press secretary define the economy as...
It's crazy how that works. When the Orange Man, so to speak, which is wild that he got nicknamed the Orange Man. I did drop a YouTube short, though, that was interesting, comparing him to Spider-Man. If you haven't seen that, definitely go and check it out. I dropped it yesterday. When he was in office, it was 2 consecutive quarters. Now, it's something totally different. It's all of these other things. I mean, the definition has become so big and vast. You got to have this connected and this connected with this, connected with this, and connected with this. And if this isn't, trending downwards, then, hey, it doesn't count as a recession. It's crazy. We're in one. I mean, without a doubt. That's a fact.
Being strong, and the secretary defined the economy as being strong and the best economy we've had in over a decade. Have you seen her do that?
No.
It's hilarious. It's like the wildest gaslighting because she's doing all of these political hand maneuvers that people do. You know those moves that people do with their hands when they're talking and they're trying to display like confidence and control. And there's like, it's literally like political pantomiming.
The bizarre thing about the recession.
I'm going to start doing that when I talk. Do I look more believable when I'm, moving my hands? I can't even do it seriously. Never mind. Anyway.
Situation is the fact that it doesn't matter what you call it, right? You can call it fucking paradise if you want, but it's still shit.
Right.
Like all of the criteria of what's happening indicates a recession.
Yes.
And the reason obviously is that you've got midterms coming up and you need to make sure that is in a recession is not something that can be thrown at the Democrats.
It still can.
Right.
It's a protectionist strategy.
Yes. So don't use that word.
Well, it's not. It's not because it's not defined in that way.
Right.
That's not the accepted definition.
Right.
Well, it was until very, very, very recently.
That's wild. Well, that's gaslighting. And just that alone, is people would think that it's trivial because they are talking about this economic downturn, but it's not trivial because we've always used that term recession. And we've always used that term to define whether or not the economic policies that are currently in place and whether or not the management and the government has done a good job of making sure that the economy stays in a good place. They definitely haven't done that. So in order to escape that, that sort of distinction, they're literally changing the definition, which is terrible. And
yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's a great point he brought up there. It was a great measuring stick. But because they haven't measured up, they've completely changed the definition, completely changed the game. Well, if I can't win the game, then I'm just going to change the rules. Interessante. Makes me think and wonder, what do we have in store in 2024? I'll leave it at that.
Should be pushed back against in a big way. It should be something that people get angry about. Like, hey, you're fucking with definitions in order to pretend that you're doing a good job.
Well, the reason that you attach a sequence of letters to something, right, is to represent what that thing is. You don't change reality by changing what those words actually mean.
Right.
But if you can't control the economy, you might as well just control the language and hope for the best.
God. What a bunch of weasels.
So, yeah. I mean, just absolutely trying to play mind games. We see through the smoke screen. I don't believe that it's working for most of the population. Just because you change the or try to change the definition of a word doesn't mean that people just all of a sudden forget about what the original definition was. And Joe Rogan was right about the press secretary, because I have seen clips of, what's her name? Karine Jean-Pierre. Which, like I said, I do love her name. I like that. I'm kind of jealous. Jean-Pierre. It's a wonderful name. I have seen clips of her just blatantly lying. Flat out lying. And I'm like, wait, what? Do you even believe what it is that you're saying? Like, there's no possible way you even believe what it is that you're saying. Like, really? Come on. But I will have to practice the hand motions as I'm talking. That's a very interesting thing. So next week, if you see me with the hand gestures, just know what's happening. Just trying to convince you to believe me, all right? So just all right, all seriousness though, y'all let me know what you thought about this in the comment section below. Like, share, comment, and of course, hit that subscribe button before you go. Peace and love. I'm out.